Climate experts believe the next ice age is on its way. According to recent evidence, it could come sooner than anyone had expected.
If global warming is for real, they won't put it that way, global warming happens and water rises 10 feet, this investment you made is not one single investment prospectus written since 2000, this century, has alluded to global warming. If it were really true, the banks wouldn't invest, the banks wouldn't finance. So the people that have the money, and I'm jealous of the Vice President, Gore. I am jealous he came up with a scam before I did. Because the financial institutions, the banks of this world know it's not going to happen. Otherwise, you couldn't get a loan in London. You know those 30, 40-year mortgages? The world will be over by then. Is Barclays Bank going to give you a loan? With the greatest respect, ma'am, it's the greatest fraud that's been perpetrated on mankind this century.
All this fuss about the climate change is absurd because, first of all, climate has always changed. It's quite a normal thing for climate to be changing. And anyway, there's not much we can do about it. We don't understand it. Most of the official beliefs about it are completely unsupported by real science.
Mm-hmm. If we divide 125 genders by 3 bathrooms, how much climate change do we have? The Kate Daly Show starts now.
All right, welcome. I hope you're doing okay. I hope your Thursday is a good one. I still can't believe we're in May as far as we are. It just boggles one's mind. This year has gone fast. It's been a tough year, though. It's been a tough year, but it's gone fast. I just realized that I have the date wrong on the ticker. Hold on. Let me let me change this. There's a lot of moving parts. So there's so many things that I want to talk to you about today, and so many kind of little aha things. I always like doing that just because, you know, a lot comes up, you know, as the week goes by. And I was just looking at the latest headline, and the latest headline was comically was Supreme Leader. So let me get this right. What was the headline here? Exclusive from the AP, of course. Reuters, AP, same thing. Exclusive Supreme Leader, you know, of Iran says enriched uranium must stay in Iran. So and this is just from anonymous sources in Iran. So I was kind of laughing because they were showing a photo of him in his supreme leadershipy role painted on a billboard and making him try to look larger than life. And I kind of chuckled because I know people are probably going to believe that. And I don't know why. You know, we could squash them like a bug. We always have been able to. And they're the size of Alaska. So we always act afraid of them. And I'm kind of laughing too, because my husband was watching this show. He likes this show called the Navy SEAL Show. I don't know if you guys watch it or not. But it's a good series. But anyway, they were talking about going into Iran. And on the show, they mentioned that it was written into the script that they weren't allowed to do anything in Iran. And they said because all of I can't remember what they call them. They have like a nickname for the pencil pusher people, you know, what do they call them? Oh gosh, it's a great name too. Anyway, so they don't respect the people that sit at the desks in the CIA. But they said, you know, we can't go into Iran, so we have to do something on the border because we're not allowed in there because only basically the guys with white ties, with white shirts and ties are. And I was thinking about that and it kind of gave me a little chuckle because I think we own Iran. I really do. So I was kind of laughing at the headline because it's so chocked full of fear. So you're supposed to be super afraid, super afraid of Iran and that they're going to come to get us any second of the day. So now they're keeping their uranium. So we knew this was going to happen. And why did we know this was going to happen? Because they have to keep the narrative going, because we have to engage in all of these skyrocketing prices of everything and the economy not coming down. So there you go. I'm going to take a caller. How about that? Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yes, I'd like to give you some of the evidence. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. the our nuclear warheads on our submarines,
Mm-hmm.
they're MIRV multi warheads
Mm-hmm.
in a single missile. My estimation of facts are is 2 to 5 minutes after they've given orders, those missiles could be striking the cities of Iran, and they could take out every major city in Iran just a matter of a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so with you. Thank you for the call. I amen to the caller. I mean, it's just getting stupid. All right. So I did want to mention before I start, because there's so many things that I want to share with you from my research, and boy, have I done a lot of that. But I wanted to share with you that there is a special for about a week on a bundle of the two ebooks, the cancer ebook, Tackling Cancer Naturally, how to do it from all the best doctors, like this is what you do, and this is what you don't do. That one, and the new book on AI, the one that talks about where we're going with AI, one of the true reasons behind it, and why it is that they want us engaged in it right now so much, and why the fear of the headlines is actually making people go, oh, I got to learn AI. I got to figure out, it's the wave of the future. I got to figure it out. And why they're doing that, because it is such a catalyst for the New Deal Part 2. So keep that in mind. And half of the ebook is, and you can get both just together for a really knockout low price right now at katetalks.myshopify.com. It's on the ticker below. katetalks.myshopify. Just everything's always Kate Talks. So Kate Talks, on Instagram, and Kate talks about everything. So katetalks.myshopify.com, and you can go grab the bundle. And I hope you do, because both books are amazing and they both have fantastic information for you. So the idea, and you can comment on this, the idea of why we're using AI stemmed from a rabbit hole that I went down. That was really a weird rabbit hole, and it started out with an old movie and kind of just went from there. And I realized how orchestrated this time is in engaging in AI, and why we're engaging in AI right now. So go grab the ebook, because half the book tells you how to shore yourself up and make sure that you can succeed through, well, right around 2028, 2029 is when they're going to start the really the universal basic income with no jobs. And so it always comes with, and if you go back in history, there's always a 1-2 punch. Does that make sense? So you have the Depression, and you had the war, and it was a 1-2 punch to introduce a new welfare state. And so what do you think the 1-2 punch is going to play out? How do you think that's going to play out? I'm so curious to hear from you. And hello, Michael. Hello, LB. And hi, you guys, coming on YouTube. And then, of course, texting. You can text the number. It's 435-680-2503. You can send me a text. Listen, I want to know what the 1-2 punch is. I want to know how it plays out in 28 and 29. Could even go to 30, but they will. COL talks about they will definitely want to reduce the overall population. Could be. I would definitely think war and obviously an economy punch if they were going to copycat what they did in the 30s and 40s. So that obviously worked. People were very receptive to socialism in the 1940s here, and they, embraced FDR with his new socialism regime. So, and all the programs he placed in. Because I was thinking about this for just a moment before I actually get to the stuff I was going to talk about today. Here's the deal. Like, we think about how we turn over to digital currency. I've thought a lot about this, as you can imagine. I mean, this is all I do. So I'm always pouring into records and transcripts and articles and going back in history and kind of looking at how they do things, because they kind of repeat themselves. And so I was just sort of looking at how do you roll people into all digital? And one of the ways is through chaos, but not just chaos, almost like chaos bringing truth out. So there's a lot of truth coming out, right? There's a lot of things you couldn't say, like I couldn't even say as a talk show host, that you can say now. So when you have a lot of that, the answer to that would be, oh my gosh, we're so corrupt, because we are, but we're now realizing how corrupt we are. So therefore, we need complete transparency. We need everything on the blockchain. It's out of hand. It's, we can't handle any of these presidents. They're not doing right by us, and the congressmen and the senators, even though it hasn't been going right for a long time. But we're getting to the point where it's more outed. It's more in your face. Okay. The COVID stuff, and kind of peeking behind the curtain and seeing the COVID stuff. And you're finally realizing that the vaccine program is detrimental and harmful and evil. And you're finally realizing that, that they're all bought, and all the congressmen and senators. And so that is part of it, because we're going to beg for a change, for transparency. So they're kind of driving us to that. But also, enough jobs will get lost over the next 3 years. There will be enough jobs lost that people panic. They try to move to AI. They give up because AI isn't going to deliver those jobs at a certain point. And then we adopt the universal basic income. Yeah, a lot of people will. I'm hoping you're not going to be one of those. I really am. I'm hoping. And that's why I did the ebook, is because I wanted to share with you what you could possibly do to combat that right now. And there really are some great points on that too. So a comment on YouTube, just the drums. I like that. I like that header. So they first saw me on the Hagman show, 2011. Wow. Where I had just begun. I had just been let go from a Fox affiliate. Yeah, Fox News affiliate. And I was outing the black prison, the dark prison sites that nobody ever talks about. That is true. So thank you for joining us. Listen, yeah, Hagman. I like Hagman. Nice guy. So listen, there's a lot to talk about, but I wanted to kind of just flesh that out with you guys a little bit, because what is that 1-2 punch? Planned tragedies, says Angel, no rebuilding, and then rebuilding into 15-minute cities. Yeah. And what will be the things that get us to adopt, their digital currency? All the banks, we've had a lot of downed banks for a couple of days, a lot in 2025. My bank is going to be down like in a week. Like they were like, hey, we're just going to, a couple of days, we're going to be down. So they're all reformatting for their digital currency. So this is coming. And I mean, complete and total digital currency, not, not your choice, not as a little choice you get to make. So there's that. All right. I also, so Iran, that was a ridiculous. You guys, I think we just cling to believing it because the government tells us that they're our enemy and that they're going to come and get us. Let me just read the first paragraph to you from this article entitled "Exclusive Supreme Leader Says Enriched Uranium Must Stay in Iran." Iran's supreme leader has issued a directive that the country's near weapons-grade uranium should not be sent abroad. So I guess we don't have uranium anywhere else. And then it said he was hardening Tehran's stance on one of the many U.S. demands at peace talks. Man, they are really trying hard to make this sound like it is some sort of line in the sand. Oh my gosh. He issued a directive to his own people. Okay. Yeah, we do get uranium other places. So, they're not mentioning that, but you just have to laugh, you guys. It's just getting ridiculous. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today was about a tech company that showed up with $26 million. And supposedly, Ida Huddleston, 82 years old, with her farmland in northern Kentucky that she'd had all of her life, when they came knocking, they wanted 600 acres to build an AI center. She said no. And the land was just, it wasn't productive. I mean, it was productive because it supplied food for her table, but it wasn't like a big working farm, but it was in her family for generations. And she said, if it's my way, I'll stay and hold and feed a nation. 26 million doesn't mean anything to me. $26 million. So I would have to say that if you were going to try to save this country, you would start by being Ida Huddleston. You would start by being the person that says, no, I'm not going to sell you my land. And no. And the person that goes and tells their county commissioner to knock it off and to not allow those in their county and to save their county. So I just wanted to bring that up because, when people do stand, I don't ever want to forget that. I don't want to forget that good people do stand up and good people do say no. And there are really moral people. There are really moral people, and moral people is actually what saves a nation. Founders knew that. So I'm always appreciative of those people. Yes, they do have uranium mines in Wyoming and Utah. Yeah, we have it all over the we have it all over the place. Oh, you guys, I actually saw a meme that came my way, and the person, the company that had built this meme, it was interesting because it was talking about how this whole thing with Iran, the only reason was to create the shortages and hiked prices, that they just needed some sort of something to happen so that you wouldn't blame our administration, you would blame Iran, we would somehow come out the good guy in that. So I was kind of laughing at that too. I thought, it's starting to spread. And then I did see another person actually put out that that the data centers would eventually become prisons. They are not data centers. They are not going to be data centers. So I just wanted to, again, note that someone else is saying it because I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that. A lot of our talk show hosts on the right are acting like it's really real. And then fight it, but it's real. And I'm saying, fight it, but it's not real. Okay. All righty. Now let's see here. There are a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. Number one was Massey. So we talked a little bit about Massey yesterday, and what was being said about him was that he was actually taking a stand and getting up and talking about the names. So he brought up back in February 24th, he brought up the names of Leon Black, the billionaire CEO of Apollo Global Management, Jess Staley, the former chief executive of Barclays, and Leslie Wexner, who we always knew was a creep because he was Epstein's, handler at first. So the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret. So a lot of people were telling me, not a lot, but a few were telling me, there's that Massey is the real deal, and he could be. Here, there's two theories on Massey, and I want to get your thoughts too, because I want to see what you think. But there's going to be these two theories. Let me bring you the two theories. Number one, I always appreciate when people say the things that I know are true. And he was saying a lot of those things. Now, on one hand, he is going to be someone that the party sanctioned to be there. Otherwise, he would not have been in that role. So we have so much election fraud that when Thomas Massey was elected to office, the party allowed that. So that means that somewhere, somehow, they thought he would either be on their side or they wanted him to be controlled opposition. Okay. So it could be either or. He does have a past with the deep state a little bit, so you can't not see that. But I guess doing all of this for as long as I have, I've learned a lot of lessons. And when somebody is in Congress or the Senate, they are there because of election fraud. Since 2004, when they adopted the software because of the hanging Chad lie. Okay, that was a lie. They used it. It was a scapegoat to get the software implemented under the emergency systems in 2004. And then it was our elections controlled by the Office of the Internet. So since then, they have been able to game races all the way down to local. Okay. So with with Massey is going to be part of the club if you're put into office. You don't even hardly can make it through the primaries if you are not their guy. And when you're naming names on the floor, when you're talking about people you're not supposed to, if they didn't like that, most likely you'd be dead. So I would say that we're going more towards controlled opposition than we had a fighter in there and now he lost the race. And I think when people see somebody lose the race, they go, see, he's for real, which I understand why people are saying that. So who knows? But after all the research I've ever done, I would tell you that we have a lot of controlled opposition. Controlled opposition always sounds really good because it has to, because it has to ring true. So you have to have your heroes. Now, we have a senator here in Utah, Mike Lee, and he's considered a constitutionalist. He has a good voting record in the 90s, but he doesn't really do much, okay, with his power. So he's the senior senator here, but he doesn't really do a lot for grabbing liberty back. And it took a while for people to see that he was in the club, that he was wanting my governor to be governor, and my governor is the biggest. I can't even say on here. Anyway, he's just horrid. And he was just like, nope, he's the guy. So he is part of the machine. He's part of the club, and being part of the club, you're not going to do a lot of things. Okay. But people around me and around here in Utah want to see him through rose-colored glasses. I always think that when you get in and you are, when you get in, so if you're allowed in and you stay, odds are that you are part of that club. Now, if you start to sort of talk about things you're not supposed to and kind of go off the, reservation a little bit, they usually send warning shots. You guys, I know that his wife died. I don't know the story behind that, but I know a lot of people were speculating that something had happened to her, and that it was nefarious. Who knows? I don't know. But, and I know Thomas Massey came out and said it wasn't, but I don't know. So warning shots could be fired, sure. And if you were saying too much, but I want to put it this way, because in radio, we were always told, don't talk about Israel. And when he started bringing Israel up a lot in the way that he was, if it was a threat or the deep state did not want him to, he would have disappeared pretty fast off the radar. But I have a feeling, if I'm going to follow my hunches and my feelings about this, is that, like I said in the beginning of the show, one of the things that gets us to blockchain and to kind of their new overhaul, New Deal 2.0 that's coming is truth comes out, and we realize how insane things are. And even the people that that didn't wake up before are going to start waking up, because there's going to have to be a lot of people demanding transparency, right? And they're going to, and what's going to happen? The deep state then has the solution, and the solution is going to be, we're never going to be transparent, but all of you are. So that's their solution. So knowing that, I would have to say that when they fight these dramas, when they have all this drama happening and crazy stuff happening, usually I'm looking at it going, there's all the crazy stuff, because the crazy stuff happens because of their solution that they have planned. So we're going to see more and more truth come out, but it's for a reason, and it's to overhaul the system. All right. So I'm going to look at some comments here too, because I want to kind of bring you guys into this conversation a little bit. You know, if you guys want to comment, it's fine. You can. It's a psyop. Yeah, I think it's a psyop for sure. Because this is how it's utilized. It's always utilized within drama of all the actors. So all the actors. All right. So I just wanted to talk about that. Yeah, people are commenting on Mike Lee. Yeah, you can see a lot of Senator Mike Lee. He's turned on a lot of things. Yeah, and now it's more visible. See, I started calling him out in 2016, and he didn't like it and wouldn't come on my show anymore. He used to come on my show, and then he wouldn't. And all I'm telling you is that he turned down my interview requests because I would ask him real questions about what he was doing, and I confronted him a little bit, and he did not like it. So then he definitely stopped. All right, let's take a caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between Massey and our senator here. Mm-hmm. We should judge these candidates. Let me turn the radio down. We should judge them first and foremost on their deeds. Christ told us to do that. Mm-hmm. When you do that with Massey, he's got a pretty darn good record. I mean, mm-hmm. He was exposing but he didn't expose completely the Epstein files. I mean, Trump was all over there involved in murders and all sorts of things, and but he did bring up some of it. Mm-hmm. And of course, the budget and a lot of things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to go back just a second to what you were talking about, that we could wipe out Iran. Not we, mm-hmm. the administration, wipe mm-hmm. out Iran in a second. If you look at a world map, southern Iran borders the Indian Ocean. It's the Arabian Sea. Mm-hmm. And our submarines, you would put a couple there, you'd have maybe 10 warheads, mm-hmm. 10 missiles with warheads, maybe 50 nuclear hydrogen bombs, mm-hmm. Striking within even a minute or two.
Right.
Tehran is in northern Iran. That may mm-hmm. take 3 minutes to reach Tehran. So they know that. Our government knows that. Mm-hmm. There's no threat. The line that Trump's been using, and of course the media picks it up and uses the same thing. They would either, if mm-hmm. they get enriched uranium, they would murder 200 million people. And then in one speech, he said 200 million. And later in the speech, he said he would wipe out mankind completely. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you don't have that brain in your head, that's all deception. That's all lying. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. No, I love it. It's a great call. So thank you for that. People do not make it far in the machine without the club saying, we like you. And I know that a lot of people out there can even look like they're just, especially people with large audiences, I'm giving you the truth, but they stop short a lot. And it's one of the telltale signs that they're there by invitation. So that's why no matter what the drama is, it's all theater to me. So when I'm looking at it, it's all theater. And I wish I didn't have to say that. Like, I wish it was different. I wish that, you could have some people get into office that actually, no, not even down to local level. Not even down to local level. They have all those races. They make sure that city councils will pass 15-minute cities, and they make sure that county commissioners will pass these things. So it's just how it is. So Limbaugh, Rush Limbaugh always stopped short. Yes, he did. He was more for the right-left game. He wanted people to play the right-left game. He wanted to demonize the left. I'm not a fan of the left, but it was all about they're the demon, and on the right, we're just trying. And I'm like, now look at on our right what we've done. And I say our because I've been on the right my whole life. But on our right, we're not doing anything. So we're not doing anything to return any liberty to the people. We're not serving the people. So, oh gosh, it just cracks me up when they say they're serving. Give me a break. Cardio Miracle. Yes. Somebody just made a comment about that. I do. I drink 2 doses of it. I love it. I'm not kidding. This gives me my energy. I sip on it, helps me lose a few pounds. I love it. Makes me I've got some nutrition in my body. Cardio Miracle. Out of all the supplements I've tried, this one. Love it. And if you guys want to keep commenting, of course, you can keep commenting, but go look at Thomas Massey's background. There's a lot there that to digest, and can people change? Yes. You guys remember Hoover, right? So Herbert Hoover was back in the day, he was allowed in by the party. And when he was allowed in, they thought that he was going to be, their guy. But then he kind of started outing a couple of things. So what did they do? Well, they named everything in the Depression after him. So remember the other day I was talking about Grapes of Wrath, and that got me down a rabbit hole about AI. Well, Grapes of Wrath, in that time when when those people were poverty stricken and they were going to California and they were living in little shanties, and they had nicknames, and Hoover was attached to a lot of those nicknames. So what they do is they start to demonize, right? And then they didn't let him go a second term, took him away from the presidency. So there are people that I think try. Kennedy was a leftist. Kennedy loved. He was your basic Democrat. He loved government. He thought government should solve the problems. But at the same time, he did try to out the CIA. So he did try to out that the CIA was in charge, and that murder of Kennedy was the CIA saying, no, we own the presidency. We're higher. We tell them what to do. We're over that. We don't have anyone watching us, and we have a budget that's yeah. So there's a lot there, but I just wanted to say that there are some people sometimes that try to say some things. I don't know if that's Massey or not. In the past, I had always said, well, Massey's, at least trying, or at least saying the things that we need to hear, which we still do need to hear them. And he was sticking up for a lot of the truth that we know, and that's good. But I still think that it's all theater. I do. And that just comes after thousands of hours of research. I don't know how to not know that. So, it's kind of hard to, I try to give the benefit of the doubt sometimes, but it is very, very difficult to do that when you know what it is. So I wanted to bring that up. And yeah, he dumped a couple of names. I don't know that I'm thinking we probably would have guessed those names. But I do want to say that in the theater right now, there's a lot of attention from a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of people that seem to be on the right, kind of pointing things out or pointing truth out. A lot of leftists call that conspiracy, but it's not, it's fact. And they're trying to point it out, but then they go to the Epstein files and they make sure that they are and we still don't have the Epstein files. To me, it's kind of a misdirection, because you're never going to get to that truth, ever. You're never going to know that. Even when the files were going to get released, it was 33,000 files. You're not going to know what was going on in that island. You're not going to know the extent of the trafficking. You're not going to know what they were really doing down there, ever. And they want to keep their eyeballs on Epstein, when we all know how corrupt, how sick, how twisted things are. But it's this demand for the Epstein files when we know we're not going to get them. I'm not saying they're not evil. I'm saying we're just never going to get it. And it seems like a quest, like they keep pulling the carrot out, and it's just this quest for what I don't know. We can demand all we want, but they just aren't going to do it. So we knew that. We knew that when the files disappeared when he was being prosecuted, because he's their guy. Epstein's their guy. So, but there's lots of Epsteins, and it's not just Epstein. And I guess that's my point, is that it's just so much bigger than that, and they're not going to allow that. So, I mean, a lot of people kind of get stuck on that. They used to get stuck on the budget. It was always about the budget, the budget, the budget, the budget. And I remember doing a show once where we were like, they're never going to fix the budget. Look farther, look deeper. They're never going to balance it. And it was all about balance the budget. I was like, we're so far beyond balancing the budget. There's so much more going on than that. But we get stuck on things. LB says gas around $4.60. Yeah, I know. It's like almost $5 where I'm at. I'm in Utah. It's almost $5 where I'm at. It's pretty bad. People are having a real tough time. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but vacation spots, like people are sending deals out. They're doing all kinds of things to get people to go on vacation and get people going places. That is the truth. There was a couple of things I actually wanted to mention that I hoped would be helpful for you. And one was this. This was from Robert Barefoot, actually, talking about the sun, since now we're in summer. So here you go. And I've done shows on sunscreen and sun cancer, skin cancer and everything else, but I wanted to play this for you. Here you go.
Scientists have proven that every square centimeter of skin, when you're out in the sun, produces 19 international units. And the other thing you have to understand is when the sun hits your face, behind your eyes, your pituitary gland, pineal, and hypothalamus glands, and when the sun strikes your eyes, they trigger it and start producing calcitonin, melatonin, serotonin, all these hormones and enzymes, all of which, if you go to biology books, you want because it'll keep you healthy and young. So all these hormones and enzymes are produced only from the sun. But and yet the sun causes cancer. Avoid the sun like the plague. Oh, no more than 10 minutes, the doctor says. How stupid could they be? Because the same doctor will tell you need melanin and serotonin.
And how else are you supposed to get it other than naturally?
Well, they'll sell you a chemical.
Sure.
And they will. They will sell you a chemical. Doing the research on skin cancer, boy, did I learn a lot. And all the numbers started going up the second that the medical cabal started recommending sunscreen. We had been out in the fields forever. We had been out in the fields farming for centuries. We spent more time in the sun than anyone. And no real skin cancer. And then we got into the 70s and the doctors started saying, this is what you have to wear because now we're afraid of the sun. And skin cancer went through the roof. Go look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. And it was the exact time. So the numbers just shoot up. And now skin cancer, we have a lot of it. So it's one of the biggest reasons, I should say. It might not be the whole reason, but it's one of the bigger ones for sure. So I loved this because I was just kind of looking at different things, but I was thinking about ticks because if they have released ticks, then how do you keep yourself safe from that? And there are some ways. And so I did want to tell you about those because, look, if a show can do anything, I would hope that it could help. So if they've released things just like they did Lyme disease, when they released Lyme disease, the ticks for Lyme that cause Lyme disease, if they're doing that again this summer, if this is on the agenda, and it seems that a few people have been speaking out about it, who knows? But I know that, obviously they're warning about it. Apple cider vinegar. It has an acidic taste that ticks hate. That's one of them. And you can just spray it in a bottle with some essential oil. You can actually spray it on you if you're hiking or camping. And also citronella and tea tree and peppermint and almond oil. You can make a little concoction. Eucalyptus oil, they hate it. And there was just a couple more I just wanted to mention really fast. Oregano oil. That smells like hell. but hey, cedar oil spray, you can do that too. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but I was noticing an article, and this article was, as weather warms up, this was put out by Mainstream, scientists have a dire warning before you head outdoors when it comes to ticks. And so they're saying there's way more infectious ticks now going on than we've ever seen. We're in for a bad year. So they said this last year too, but wanted to kind of throw out there that there are some ways, and you can look those up. You've got the internet, but there are natural ways. And when you go camping, I love to camp. So when you go camping, there's some ways that you can just kind of not have to deal with that. So I hope. By the way, on sunscreen, I forgot to mention sunscreen, the avobenzone and the oxybenzone enter your bloodstream after 1 day. And since that's been happening, skin cancer rates have skyrocketed over 400% since we started using that. And then sunscreen reduces that vitamin D load from the sun exposure. So you're not getting that. And so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because I just hope we make more connections about things. And I was wondering why, when it dawned on me, and I don't know why it took me so long, but when it dawned on me that, hey, we've been on the fields forever. What's going on here? That it had to be something. So of course it always is. So, and what can I say? It's crazy. It is crazy. Okay. So I just want to make sure I cover most of what I had. I also wanted to open up the show. Oh yeah. Thank you for the show you did on sunscreen. I told my husband to stop using it. Yeah, it's not good. And people are slathering up their kids with it. And it's pretty bad. Because they don't allow them to have that. We need that. That's why we've always been out in the fields. We didn't have any problems. And when I did the numbers, it actually blew my mind too, to tell you the truth. It really did. I was actually pretty shocked by it. But I shouldn't have been, because for centuries, we have not been inundated with skin cancer. Why now? So, combined with a ton of chemicals and combined with a ton of crap, you can imagine. All right, caller, go right ahead. You're live.
Oh, hi, Kate.
Hi there.
Mike from Fairbanks. How are you?
Hi, so glad you called. So what's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks for letting me in.
Mhm.
Kate, it's time for everybody to buy. I'm getting a really bad feedback.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Kate.
There you go. Okay.
Time it's Kate for everybody to get weed burners and go out in their yard and burn the ground like the farmers do every year. They burn the fields.
Okay.
And that's what we have to do to get rid of these damn ticks. Bill Gates, and then let's get rid of Bill Gates. Let's somehow get rid of him.
Yeah. Can we?
I don't think so. I think everybody's in love with these techies. I'm really sick of them. And I actually believe Massey is going to be one of our next presidents. Trump is a total disappointment. I was disappointed with Trump when he didn't veto the first omnibus bill that Nancy threw at him. His first operation as president, he went against what he said he was going to do. And I predicted this is going to be trouble. I still like Trump, but I think the vax has got to him. I think he's got a integrated circuit in his body, and they wick up the 5G when they want to irritate him. These people, I think these people, if you notice, even my friend Brady Nash from Arizona, he says his family that's vaxxed, they're all mean now. They're so mean. They don't want to talk about it. They put you down if you mention it. And it's just a nightmare. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Massey, I think, would be a fantastic presidential run. I think the Trumps are done. They have literally pulled a terrible defeat out of the jaws of glorious victory. I think it's over. Trump is going to get, I mean, all our ships are up in that Gulf. They're locked there. How are they going to get out? You know, all those aircraft carriers are above the Strait of Hormuz, I call it. But how the heck are they going to get out of there? I think they're trapped. I think we're in deep trouble.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Mike. Really appreciate it.
You
Thank
got
you.
it.
I think it's all theater. Sadly, I think it's I think we should not have been surprised when he did not veto omnibus bills in his first term. I think this is by design. I think that the Iran thing is playing out by design because it has hiked our prices. It has done a lot of damage to the economy, and it's a scapegoat. But that's just me. Yeah. So I did want to bring this to your attention. Since we're talking about skin cancer, let me kind of fill you in on just a few things. So 1950 to 1954, the diagnosis of invasive melanoma was really, really, really rare. It was like 1 patient per 100,000 for men. And this is in the 50s, okay? So, and then 2.6 for women, okay? I don't know what a 6 is, but 3/4 of a woman. So there you go. So current estimates are that 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer in their lifetime, and that it's estimated that about 9,500 people in the US are diagnosed with skin cancer every day. But in the 60s, the first instance of sun protection factor appeared. And this was in the 60s. And then the amount added to suntan lotions was incredibly low. So it was 2 to 4 SPF. Then the additives came out, right? And the additives at the time didn't effectively kind of rub into the skin. And then between the 70s and the 80s, tanning oils increased in popularity. Then in the 70s, people spent hours in the sun, but we were slathering stuff on. So when we started slathering stuff on, and this could also be the oils as well, that make you tan, not the sunscreens that try to prevent it. But when we started using a lot of this stuff, yes, we started having major issues. And you can go back to about 100 years from now, about 100 years ago, and we were 90 to 95% farmers and ranchers. People spent an awful lot of time in their gardens and in growing food, and that's basically what we did. Everybody grew food. Well, we were outside a lot, and we are not. Since the 70s, I swear, between that and between the food pyramid and between all of the things that we've gotten handed that we do and don't question is just insane. So here's a question. Kate, what do you think about fair-skinned person working in the oil fields more prone to skin cancer? I would look at more natural things. If there's too much sun exposure, I'd probably look at more natural things to do instead of the chemicals. There are some natural things. I can't go and find it right now for you, but I did a show about it. Actually, there's way more ways to do that, and I would give that a look-see. So here's a comment. Trump showed his true colors when he rolled out Operation Warp Speed and has doubled down since claiming credit for it. The Operation Warp Speed, I felt like, was really planned, executed, and all I'm going to say again is that you can't be president of the United States unless the deep state wants you there. So when you have somebody you trust saying the vaccine's okay, do this, we're in an emergency, there was a reason to have Trump do the Operation Warp Speed. There was a reason they put him back in. And like I said, when I started getting thrown off talk shows, it was because I said, why is Trump running if he knows it's fixed? It doesn't make any sense. Why is he running if he knows it's fixed? As a businessman, as a person, you would know better. You would know they could do it to you again. And so that question got me thrown off a lot of shows, by the way. So, there's that. All right. Yes. Skin cancers. I deal with them too, by the way. I'm fair skinned, and it does me no favors. So, but I appreciate you chiming in on that, because I know we're bouncing around a lot, but the sunscreen thing is, now that we're going into summer and I see these parents just spraying the snot out of it, just getting all that on their kids. And I'm like, oh, poor children, just go out for a few hours. Don't be out all day, cover up. The best thing you do is just wear a hat. Best thing you could do is just wear some gloves. If you really, really, really have too much sun all day, every single day, and you're literally working outside, but my gosh, because they used to do that too. They used to cover up. They'd get some sun and then they'd cover up. But my gosh, stop slathering your kids in toxic chemicals and then telling them to, go in the water and have a nice day and have fun, and that they can't go in the water without it. I just, oh, it's so hard to watch parents do that. I just want to run up. My first instinct, because I have kids, is to run up and just be like, no, stop doing it. It's crazy. It really is. I've done shows on that, just a lot of content on that. And I had a friend that, whose daughter, her video went more viral because she was saying the same thing. And of course, the big, huge mainstream media outlets reached out to her and wanting her to comment so that they could further make fun of her because the doctors, the dermatologists, are just abhorred by her saying that it's, that we've only had skin cancer coming out since the 70s, really. And to the degree that it is. And, there has to be a cause for that. There has to be a reason for that. And boy, they really wanted to skewer her for that. And you can't even make this stuff up. I mean, they have to go with the dialogue presented. They have to make sure you stay on point, right? So, yes. And Angel, you're right. Remember when the makeup started having sunscreen in it? Yeah. A lot of problems, so many problems. Lynn's Music says, my son got yelled at for me not giving him sunscreen. The teacher said I was irresponsible and that he was going to get skin cancer. Unbelievable. I'm so sorry. Oh, people are just so stupid. Why is it that we can't look past and know that it's two things? There's always two things that come up when I'm about to say what I'm about to say. Number one, they cry drought. All we have to do is dig down for water because that's what they did for centuries. You find wells. Every community had a water witcher. You have the branches. They turn down when it comes upon water. They knew where to dig. You dig, and you get your water. Sunscreen in the fields forever, forever. I mean, all the way back. Okay. No one had this problem, but it only started since the 70s. Do we just have a brain fart for you can't go back like 40 years? You just can't do it. You just can't. We can't think that far back to where, we have to kind of look at society and say, wait a minute, what shifted? I don't understand it. I can't believe people actually think that we have droughts right now when there's so much water underfoot. Do you think for a second God would have left us here and God would have put us here without enough water? Oh, you guys. I don't know what to say. I just, ever since government wanted to control it, ever since government profited off of it, because remember back in the day, they would just build a well in a community. So before government wanted to profit off of it, you dig down. After government wanted to profit on it, now you can't find it anywhere. Just can't. Now we're in a drought. Now we have to fear. I just can't imagine thinking that all the time. I just can't. So I thank you for that comment. I really appreciate that. It's mind-boggling, you guys. I think we're only taught to go back a certain amount of time, and that's it. And you can't think past that. It's just, I guess, it's just impossible. Anyway, had to bring that up because, as we go, there's so many more things like that, and sometimes I wonder if we are actually really going to pay attention and try to find the answers to some of these things. And I don't think it's that hard, actually. I'm no smarter than anyone else, but reading the tea leaves now has never been easier. Actually, I think this is actually getting really easy, to tell you the truth. There is something about it that is obvious. I think that's the only word I can use. It's just too obvious. The theater is heightened to the point where they can't even be subtle about it anymore. They can't. I loved this that I found, and I wanted to just give you this. You have every right to know what your government is doing, and they have no right to know what you're doing. That's why they're called public servants, and that's why we're called private citizens. Seems to be the other way around. The relations, it's inverted. So I like that. I thought that was great. Now, Cuba, okay, last night, a friend texted me about Cuba, about what was going on in Cuba. My first thought on that, I wanted to comment on that too. I told you today was going to be really random. There was a writing about what was going on in Cuba, and it said, you're watching Cubans throw stones at police cars in Havana, and the country has no fuel, no electricity for 20 to 22 hours a day, and no food. But the government still has fuel for police cars to suppress them. And protests have erupted across the city, and this is the biggest wave of unrest since 2021. I'd love to get your thoughts on Cuba. I swear, okay, since Trump has gone in, what has been on the docket for the last year? Venezuela. By the way, you haven't heard a word about Maduro and his wife, right? Because I told you back when that happened, I go, they're sitting in a hotel. They're not in anything but a hotel. This was all a play. This was all he's a CIA asset. Maduro is. So it was, and I talked about his past because I said, look, this is all a big show. Why is this a big show? So we've done Venezuela. We've talked about Greenland. We changed to Gulf of California instead of Gulf of Mexico. We've talked about merging with Canada, now with Cuba. So it's getting pretty interesting, don't you think? And I just want to say for the record, all I kept thinking last night was, oh, they're turning us into a region, because when you're talking about all these areas will all be in a region together, just like the EU is. And so I just kept thinking, oh, we're still in, this is where we're headed, because this is all we've talked about all year long, right? All right, caller, go right ahead.
I wouldn't bet against you on that analysis. I think you're probably right. Venezuela. So Venezuela was a communist nation, and it still is a communist nation.
Well, they put in the communists they want to lead it. We'll say that.
In this case, it was just a second in command that moved up. And Trump has been saying repeatedly he loves the current administration in Venezuela. So he loves the communism. And basically, he was saying the same thing when he was over at China. Yeah. But back to Cuba. We've been at war. Not we. That's really important. This administration and the president keeps saying, we are doing this. We are doing this. No, it's one person illegally. The dictator is doing all this. But we've been Trump's been at war with Cuba for over 10 months. They've been imposing embargoes, and those embargoes is what the rioting is about. It's America is creating that condition. They're starving. They don't have supplies, and embargoes are an act of war. It's internationally known as such. And I think you're right. They're probably throwing out this one communist just to replace them with another one, and until we have communism throughout this region. And remember, regional government is a stepping stone to the final goal: totalitarian communistic government.
Let me ask you this, because I know that we control the world's leaders. We fund all of the countries. We control the world leaders. So why Cuba? I mean, I'm going back to the 50s, the 60s. Why did they want the war with Cuba? Why Cuba?
Well, the Cold War was all staged. Used that term you're using, theater. While the Cold War was going on, and there was really fighting. I mean, the communists were killing people, going into nation after nation. They had half the world controlled. And Korea alone, 5.5 million died, and it was all initiated. The aggression was by the communists. But so that's on the surface. But behind the scenes, U.S. businesses and around the world and U.S. government were funding and recognizing the Soviet Union and Red China. They gave the bomb to the conspiracy gave the bomb to the Soviets. The way you say it, it's a little different than what you're saying. It's not our government. It's the conspiracy, and they control the world to a large extent, but they don't control it completely. And their goal is to control it to the point that
that's
there's
where
only
we differ.
one world government.
That's where we differ. When they put in what's his face with Iran in the 70s. Oh my gosh, I can't think. No, the 70s.
The Shah.
No, not the Shah. The next
one.
Khomeini. Khomeini. Sorry, I could not think of it. So when they put in Khomeini, he was an asset. He was living in France. And when they put him in, they knew they wanted him to be a tyrant. They wanted him to be that way because you have to up the ante. You have to make the bad guy look even badder. And so So they did
Another
put
way of
him
saying
in.
that is it's a dialectic. They control both sides,
Mhm.
and they create a
Yes.
crisis, or what they call a crisis, and all they have
Mhm.
to use the word emergency, where under they can do anything they want. Any form of
Yes.
tyranny.
Amen. Thank you for that. I really appreciate the phone call. When they put him in, they wanted him to be who he is, or they wouldn't have put him in. So we weren't striving to have somebody go in that would be more democratic, which is always what they what they say. But they actually did a campaign to get him in. The CIA did, and the Mossad and MI6. They actually put him in there so that they would control him. And that's why when I saw that, they did a campaign to get the Iranian people to believe that he was going to be their best leader, because he was living in France. He was living in France. He was living in a house that housed some of the agents. That's why I just kind of laugh that we don't understand that. Then, I'm looking at this article today, and it's like, we sent out a directive that no more uranium. And I'm like, these headlines are being played. They're so played. Oh my gosh, to make it look like they're a threat. So amazing. So amazing that we believe it. But okay. By the way, things that are believed by us. Can I just do this really fast? Because I thought this was so excellent. So 50 years of failed predictions, by the way, because I did start out with climate change today and the bogusness of climate change, human caused climate change. The climate will always change, but not by us. So anyway, 50 years. So in 1966, world's oil depleted within 10 years. This is what they said. Okay, these are the predictions. This was all coming from government too, which, by the way, then the AP amplified because of Project Mockingbird, which took over the media in the 50s. So basically all these headlines came out, government was saying this. 66, oil depletion within 10 years. 67, dire famine forecasted by 1975. In 1968, overpopulation will spread worldwide. In 69, New York City will be underwater by the year 2000. In 1970, world to use up all natural resources by the year 2000. 1970, urban citizens will need gas masks by 1985. 1970, nitrogen buildup could make all land usable. 1970, pollution will kill all the world's fish in a few years. 1970, killer bees. Then we had ice age by 2000. These are all 1970. America rationing water. We'll have to ration water by 1974 because of the control over water. America rationing food by 1980. Okay. And then you go into 71. That was all 1970. This is also around the start of the EPA. The EPA was founded on false pretenses. They already had it ready to go because it only took 6 months. They had 10,000 people in the EPA ready to go. Just a little side note. But 1971, new ice age by 2020. 72, new ice age by 2070. Then 1972, world's oil reserves will be depleted by 1992. We had a gas shortage that was fake, completely fake. 1974, satellites show new ice age approaching. 1974, another ice age. Boy, we really thought a lot of ice. In fact, we were told that we would be popsicles by the end of the 70s, by the way, by Spock. What was his name? Spock? Anyway, on Star Trek. Okay. 1976, scientific consensus, planet cooling, famine imminent. 1977, Department of Energy says peak oil by the 1990s. Okay. 1978, no end in sight for 30-year cooling trend. Did they tell Al Gore that? Anyway, 1980, acid rain will kill all lake fish. 1980, world to reach peak oil by 2000. 1988, expect regional droughts by 1990s. In 1988, temps in Washington, D.C. will break records. In 1988, Maldive islands underwater by 2018. Yeah. 89, rising sea levels will obliterate nations by 2000. In 89, New York's West Side Highway underwater by 2019. That was the threat. 96, global peak oil by 2020. They sure have moved that up the dial. In 2000, children in UK will never see snow again. In 2002, famine by 2012 unless humans go vegan. 2002, peak oil by the year 2010. See, keeps moving up. 2004, Britain will be Siberia by 2024. That was in 2004. They said by 2024, Britain will be Siberia. 2005, Manhattan underwater by 2015. 2006, super hurricanes. 2008, Arctic to be ice free by 2018. 2008, Al Gore, Arctic could be free, ice free by 2013. And he also said, though, on the same note, that we would be frying, eggs on the sidewalk, that we would be burnt to death by 2013, that we would basically cease to exist. Al Gore said that after 2013. 2009, Prince Charles, only 96 months to save the world in 2009. That was the headline. In 2013, Arctic ice free by 2015. 2014, only 500 days before climate chaos. That was in 2014. Okay. Now, what they're missing on this is let's say, starting in 1970, or let's go with the late 70s, we've had Iran's going to build a bomb. They're this close. They're this close. Then they're this close. Then they're this close. Now I guess they're this close. So really, really, really close. Super close. Super duper close. And Netanyahu, who's a Mossad agent, has been saying that in the press. I have a clip roll somewhere for 30 years, 25 years. Yeah. So somebody gets on here. I kid you not. You can't even believe this. So here's a YouTube comment. What's this? Deniers Central? No, Janice. I just read through all the predictions that came up to be completely false, but they were completely sure they would happen. Denier, or did I just read fact? So, Oh, Janice. Anyway, yes. And then after they put the Ayatollah in, they started on that garbage. Yes. Amazing stuff. I just had to share that with you because we've been lied to so much, ramped up in fear so often, that I hope people can see the theater of this. I really do. I really do. I really do. It's getting to the point where it's just getting really hard to deal with this. Now, a couple of things. I put a bundle of the 2 ebooks that you need to get. The one is on tackling cancer naturally, and it's all the best info. Okay, packed into 15 pages, and you can get that and the new one on AI and what the hidden bait and switch on AI and what that is. And half of the ebook is dedicated to helping you understand it so that you can change things right now, because that's going to come to a head in 28, 29. Now, it's usually like a 7-year cycle. That's why I say that, not because I'm one of those headlines that says by this date, okay, we'll have no ice. Okay. Those are in a bundle right now, and you can save on it right now. And this will go on for about a week, and it's at katetalks.myshopify.com. And all you have to do is click on that one, and you'll get both ebooks for a stellar price. And I really appreciate you doing that. Not only does it help the show and help me do the research, I was going to bring you a really crazy rabbit hole today, but I have to wait until Tuesday because I am not completely ready. So I wanted to be completely ready when I brought this one to you, but I got most of it. And there's a couple more questions that I have. And then also, Cardio Miracle, that is the one out of all the supplements. I would take this one. I know that there's so many people out there and there's so many things you can take, and sometimes you just get inundated. It's just crazy. You're like taking this for this and this for this. Well, this solves a ton of stuff that you don't have to take otherwise. So you're cutting down your supplements, and it actually tastes good. So I put it in here. I do two a day because that nitric oxide going into your system is just so beneficial. I can't even tell you. And the low to vitamin C, my husband's blood pressure went down to normal. I'm not kidding. I love this stuff. My father-in-law took this. My husband takes it. I absolutely love this drink. So I do that twice and a day. And when I took it once a day, it didn't do what I think for me anyway. Maybe it's just me, but now that I do twice, I'm like, I feel it. And I feel it if I don't take it either. So I really appreciate you guys. Hopefully that answered some of your questions today. I know it was random, but there were so many different things that I wanted to talk about that had been on my mind. There was Cuba and there was Iran and there was Massey and sunscreen, because of course it's Memorial Day weekend coming up. And so people are going to be out spraying themselves down with chemicals and then wondering why skin cancer is rampant. And you know what? Stop spraying yourself with chemicals. Quit doing it. Since the 70s, numbers straight up trajectory of numbers since then, since the doctors started saying, go put sunscreen on. Yeah. Anyway, those are the same doctors that said smoking couldn't cause anything. I just had to say that because I just don't trust the medical cabal. So, and you guys know that. But make sure and go to the website, katedalleyradio.com. If you didn't write anything down, but you want to find what I was just talking about, go to katedalleyradio.com. It'll point you there. And be faithful, be fearless. I'll be back on Tuesday. All right. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And donate to the show. It needs it more now than ever. It's hard. It's tough right now. So thanks, you guys. Really appreciate you guys. And I will see you on Tuesday. Have a great long weekend.